For the grammar portion of this unit, we are going to work on conditionals. In English, we have the first, second, and third conditionals. There is even a zero conditional, but that is not really common. So we will only focus on the first three conditionals. Let's start from the first conditional. We use the first conditional to talk about possible future situations. So we are going to talk about possibilities, okay, in the future. When you want to talk about this sort of scenario, this is the sentence pattern you must follow. For the conditional clause, the sentence that starts with if is called a conditional clause, and the other part is called the result clause. So for the conditional clause, you need to use the present tense, and the result clause, you will use will followed by a base form verb. Some examples are, if the weather is too hot tomorrow, I'll stay home. So this is definitely a possibility. And if this happens, this is what you will do. If the situation of COVID-19 is not under control, people will go crazy. So this is definitely a possibility, even though we don't want that to happen, okay? But it is possible. And this is what will happen if that becomes a possibility, okay? So we use the first conditional to talk about possible future situations. For the second conditional, we use it to describe imaginary situation. When we are talking about imaginations, our imagination, we use it. Or situations that are unlikely in the future. Okay? In other words, we're talking about something unreal in the present moment. And when we want to describe these scenarios, we need to use this sentence pattern. Again, for the conditional clause, you need to use past tense. And for the result clause, we have different auxiliary verbs for you to choose from. Would, could, should, might, followed by a base form verb. Pay attention to the first example here. If I were a bird, please remember that for the second conditional, the be verb is always were. Okay, the be verb is always were. Some younger people in the States will start to use was, but that is still not the convention. Okay, it's still better to use were for the be verb in the second conditional. So if I were a bird, I could soar in the sky. So this is definitely unlikely. Okay? If she were my mother, she would take better care of me. So we know she isn't your mother. So this is an imaginary situation. If I got 48 hours a day, I might get 4 jobs. So this is also an imaginary situations. Okay, so for imaginary situations, you will use the second conditional. To help you know the second conditional a bit better, please turn to page. Let me see, which page is it? One moment, please. Please turn to page 74. Okay. 74. Take a look at activity 4. Okay. Activity 4, it says check page 138 for more information and practice. We will do 138 later. And here, let's go over the usage of the second conditional. The second conditional describes imaginary situations or situations which are unlikely in the future. To form the second conditional, use would in the result clause and the simple past in the conditional clause. So the conditional clause is the sentence with if. Would can sometimes be replaced with could or might, and we can even use should. If only or I wish can be used when the speaker wants a present situation to be different. These are followed by verbs in the past form. For example, I wish COVID-19 never happened. Okay, so I will use the past form to talk about a present situation. Okay, the opposite of a present situation. All right, now go to page 138 at the back. So on page 138, okay, on page 138, you'll see that more explanation about the conditionals. Okay, about the conditionals for your reference. I want to draw your attention to activity 5 on page 139. So it says, are the situation a real future possibility, an imagined present situation, or an unlikely future situation? Choose the correct option to complete the sentences. In other words, it is asking you to decide whether to use the first or second conditional. Okay, so let's take a look at the first one. The first one, he'll probably visit tomorrow, so this is a possibility, right? So you should just use the first conditional. If I see him, I'll let you know. Second one, this is definitely an imaginary situation. So what would you buy if you won $1 million? We all want this become a reality. Number 3, we can help you, I'm afraid, if we in reality we cannot help you. So we are going to talk about the opposite of the present moment. So you will use the second conditional. If we had a car, we give you a ride to the situation. So apostrophe D here, okay, is the contraction for would. Number 4, what do to celebrate if what? Your test. So this is definitely a possibility, right? You can definitely, okay, pass your test. So it's definitely a possibility. So use the first conditional. What will you do to celebrate if you pass your tests? 5, it's a shame about the weather. So now the weather is bad. It's bad. We need to talk about the opposite of the present moment. So you should use the second conditional. So wasn't and weren't both are acceptable, but strictly speaking, weren't is more conventional. 6, I can't believe you left your passport at home. So now the reality is we need to go back home to get the passport. So if we want to talk about the opposite of present moment, you should use the second conditional. I can't believe you left the passport at home. We would be in Singapore now if you weren't so forgetful. 7, I know you can't go to the movies tonight, but what you see if. So you can go. This is the reality. We want to talk about the opposite of the present moment. In other words, we need to use the second conditional. I know you can go to the movies tonight, but what would you see if you could? Okay. 8, I'm not sure if your magazine is in my bag. So you will use the first conditional, okay, to talk about the possibility, okay. Here, I'll bring it to school on Monday if it is. So it's possible that the magazine is in your bag. So we will use the first conditional. Okay, so this practice should help you tell the difference between the first and second conditional. Now I am going to introduce the third conditional. Okay, we will talk about the third conditional in another unit a bit more, but now you should know the basics first. So we use the third conditional, okay, to describe a situation that didn't happen, and we use it to imagine the result of this situation. In other words, we're talking about something unreal in the past. Under this circumstance, please use this sentence pattern to form a third conditional statement. For the conditional clause, use the past perfect. And for the result clause, okay, use would have followed by a past participle. For example, if Michael had been to the party, he would have met his ex-girlfriend. So match the sentence with the pattern here, okay? You should see they match, okay? Past perfect and would have past participle. But the more important thing here is to understand the situation. Did Michael go to the party? No. Okay, that's why we use a third conditional sentence to describe a situation that didn't happen. If she had studied, she would have got a better score. My question is, did she get a good score? No. Okay, and this is exactly why we are using a third conditional to talk about the opposite of the past of the past. And number 3, if my dad hadn't given me a ride, I would have been terribly late. Then was this person late? No. But we use the third conditional to talk about what might happen if your dad didn't give you a ride. Okay? So, some quick questions. I wasn't thirsty. I didn't drink the lemonade. So, which one should be the correct, third conditional sentence to describe this situation? It should be, if I had been thirsty, I would have drunk the lemonade, right? In the past, reality, you didn't drink it, but we want to talk about what might happen if you drink it. I didn't know Kirsty was in town, I didn't call her. So what might happen if you called? So which one should be the right statement to describe that? So the first one, right? If I had known Kirsty was in town, I would have called her. Okay? And the other ones, they don't fit the sentence structure, sentence pattern. Number 3, I didn't know watching this documentary was important for our exam. I didn't watch it. So what might happen if you watched it? Which one should be the right one? C, right? If I had known this documentary was important, I would have watched it. Okay, so let me wrap up our lecture today. First, we had a review of the reading strategy: intelligent prediction, skimming, scanning, and close reading. And what is a cyborg? Part man, part machine. And we even talk about the unusual benefits. Okay, a person can enjoy if he or she has gadgets or implants attached to his or her body. And could you talk about the example used in the reading award of cyborg? And if I ask you, in what way are human beings cyborgs? And number 3, what are the conditionals? Okay, so it should be, what are the conditionals? I'll fix it later. Okay, so here is a to-do list for you. First, please review the lesson, and then finish activity 5 on page 75. We will go over the answer in the upcoming lecture. And if you have time, please have a look at the TED Talk, Deep Sea Diving in a Wheelchair. It's going to be a challenging talk because the speaker uses academic vocabulary. It can be challenging for you to follow her train of thought. Okay, thank you for your participation, and remember to complete the to-do list.